Good morning, everybody. Happy to be with you this morning. Sorry, I can't be directly live in the conference, but this is happening during my night. So we took the opportunity to share with you this pre-recorded message. My name is Pim de Box. I'm chairman of the Dutch Incubation Association, and I have some companies. I'm an entrepreneur per se. During this session, I want to share some of my experiences and thoughts that fit this theme of the conference, Global Entrepreneurship and Competitiveness. I've prepared a presentation, so I'm sharing that with you while I'm talking. Sadly, you can't ask me any questions, but maybe the conference organization will facilitate you on that. I'm from a country you might know. It's called the Netherlands. Small country, 17 million people live in this small country, and my organization has 600 people that work with incubators, science parks, accelerators, and so on. We boost around, well, at least more than 90 accelerator incubators, which is one of the highest densities of entrepreneurship support programs in the Netherlands. We also rank high in innovation and competitiveness, so there could be some link with the topic also for this conference. And our ecosystem is doing very well in rankings in a global level. But I think what is interesting or important for ecosystems like in nature, the natural ecosystems, is that it is deep, wide, and diverse. So, and this is a way to picture that, and you can believe me on that. But I think on top of the diversity, the broadness, it's also interesting to see or important that you create quality in the ecosystem. And yeah, the ranking of incubators from the Netherlands globally is a show of this quality. And accidentally also it produces some interesting unicorns. But all of that is better shared by all the esteemed speakers that are in this conference. There are scientists, and they will have their theories and statistics to share with you. So I decided with Andy and Eva, the organizers of this conference, that I would just share some of my experiences through life, so maybe some values and thoughts that could inspire you to really engage with the topic of the conference. Now, this picture is here also because where my story starts is really in the garden, and the garden of my parents. Because when I was a child, I loved working in the garden. And you might also recognize that when I was a teenager, you might recognize that situation. I tried to earn some money, and I didn't like all the jobs that were on offer for youngsters, like bringing around newspapers or picking berries in the field. So I complained to my father about it, and he said, well, why don't you do something with what you love to do, working in the garden? Maybe you can help the neighbors to maintain their garden. They are elderly people, so they might have some need of help. So that's how my first sort of small business really started, is by offering my services to the neighbors. From that on, after the first garden, the first client, I found others that could need help with their garden. And from that, I went into renovating gardens, and then also I started designing gardens. And I decided based on that that I should go to a special school for gardeners. And I really enjoyed that. I also learned to develop business plans for good gardening companies. And from there, I decided to go for more like the architectural side. And I went for the university on landscape architecture. And there I met other students that are also interested in this topic. So from there on, I developed more of a company that was also in landscape architecture. And by the age of 26, I had my first, now you would call exit, because I couldn't agree with my partners on the way forward. And they decided to offer me to buy me out. So that was, I had after that all the time of my life. Uh, I didn't know exactly what to do, but I had one dream I wanted to chase and test. And that was to go to Africa and see how I could maybe help further development. And I went to Ivory Coast for 6 weeks, 5, 6 weeks. And then I traveled around, visited development projects, also research projects. And I did, well, of course, enjoyed the scenery and so on. And for those days, it was, we're talking about 1992, was not so developed as a touristic country. So it was challenging to get around. But what I learned from that is first that the development projects and programs I visited were not really for me. And secondly, what I learned from the people in Ivory Coast is that it has real value to seize the day, as they call it, because people live much more day to day than I am used to in the Netherlands. Okay, enough about that. So, but this is like a small story that shows how this journey gave gave shape to my further life. Because the things I learned in those years have made me a social entrepreneur, and have 20 years later have turned me in an entrepreneurial ecosystem development. And I had another event to explain to you this drive that I have is that in 1999 I had a motor accident, and I had time to think about what I want to do further with my life. After doing all sorts of things, by that time I already had set up 6 companies and foundations. So I was already 20 years an entrepreneur, and I decided I wanted to dedicate my life to helping others to become entrepreneur, because it has 2 elements that really thought is great for every person. Is at the one hand, it's a way to give shape to your own life, and you can choose which battles you go into. And these battles could be, as for me is important, be part of making the world a better place for the next generation. And not just for the next generation, but also for the current generation. Although I'm not the inventor of the mobile phone or of internet, can you imagine if these things were not invented and there wouldn't have been entrepreneurs to take that to the world? So with that in mind, I developed the first private incubator. I called it BVIT Innovation Network, together with 2 other entrepreneurs and 3 investors. And we took on this challenge of developing like a private organization that really and not only promoted entrepreneurship, but also really helped the entrepreneurs with their first difficult steps into this field and to become successful that in a sense that they could make a living out of that and have an impact on the lives of people around them, clients, but also employees and so on. By the time we were in 2004, we were the only remaining private incubator in the Netherlands. And that caught the attention of many organizations, also the government. Now, I won't go through the whole lifeline, but interesting to see is that by 2010, I also got invited internationally on conferences. We won international awards and was through the EU and the European Space Agency, we really were taken into this international network to promote entrepreneurship, incubation, innovation, as this drive to make this world a better place. I sold BVIT in 2011 and branched out my activities also through PUM network, the PUM network, to developing countries like the Gambia, Tunisia, Morocco. And I set up a foundation that helps refugees in Europe to become entrepreneurs. Through PUM, I got into also countries like Indonesia and Nepal. I also set up, helped co-found Impact Leaders International to train people to become impact leaders. So this is where we are, where I am, and I hope to take you on to a similar journey to help develop the entrepreneurial ecosystem in your country. But mainly, and you saw it in the title also, is that I think I'm a pioneer, or I feel I'm a pioneer. That's why one of my companies is also called Pioneers. I'm a social entrepreneur, but I'm not money driven, but mission driven. And I dare to be different. I am different, and in my family I was always sort of treated as a like a black sheep, as they call it. And nowadays, what started with incubator developer has more developed to entrepreneurial ecosystem developer, because it's more than an incubator that makes the difference for entrepreneurial people in your society to become successful. This is really why, Simon Sinek is, why are you doing it? And why is because I believe that a better world is realized by people that don't wait for others. And that's why we need, as a society, we need entrepreneurs, and we need to nurture entrepreneurs to become better and deliver better value for this, our living. And that's really where I live by. In Nepal, we are also promoting that. Since 2020, I'm involved with stakeholders in Nepal. And we developed this program called Startup Nation 2030. Obviously, why there is a 2030 in it. Because by then, Nepal wants to be the friendly nation for entrepreneurship and startups. And this is really happening. If we took stock of the impact of our activities last summer, and you can see on this map is almost 42 initiatives have been taken up all over the country, although a large concentration around the capital here, Kathmandu, in the middle. But so there are both at education as in the community incubators and accelerators, and some regional ecosystem initiatives. They all play this map of Nepal, which is also a rather small country, by the way, but then 23 million people, and of course a very different development stage than the Netherlands or Indonesia. It's a growing community, or I would say it's a sort of growing tribe. And this is a picture taken from our conference last summer. And we had double the number of participants than the year before. And I would say it's also a great tool, a conference to gather and branch out to build up this sort of movement of people that want to drive this systematic change in society from a country that is not very entrepreneurial yet. It's on its way to become more entrepreneurial. And this thought of doing it together, you see it in the slogan, together we can. So change is only happening if you can gather the support from all stakeholders, but this is about people. People can make the change. This is also relevant. I can also apply that to Indonesia. In 2019, I was taken around Indonesia. I was a co-organizer of a conference on Bali, on innovation and incubation. And I remember that this is pictures taken in a vocational school. And I remember that we really also talked, but did some exercises and inspirational things. And what we realized is really that it's to become an entrepreneurial country, it's really important to look at your cultural context. And you could see the rich culture of Indonesia also in this picture. It's rich, colorful, diverse. It respects also diversity in culture, but it's also a little bit conservative. And parents want their children to work at the government or at a large corporate, and that's inhibiting the entrepreneurial drive, so to say. So we sort of came up with this slogan for that tour, and the activities we had is dare to be different and dare to be a hero. So dare to be different is crucial if you want to become an entrepreneur, because you're a minority. But you can become a hero because of that, because you're offering people some solutions for challenges they face in their life, or even on a bigger scale for a country or a region. And then you become their hero, because you also generate the jobs that society needs. So I shared also then in a conference, online conference around that what you can see on sustainable incubation, the topic was that what we really need for this to happen to promote entrepreneurship and innovation as part of the challenge, a part of the development of a country, is to establish and nurture public-private partnership. We need to understand that cooperation is key. Only when we work together, we can make that happen. And that's core also for Indonesia. I call it the mission for Indonesia, is that we develop this community that can make this change happen. It's not that you start from nothing, from zero, because Indonesia is a beautiful country, and that also is the home of quite some unicorns itself. But it's concentrated in a certain area of mainly West Java, where this happens. And since Indonesia has 11,000 inhabited islands, there's still a lot of work to be done for us. And one of the things I like to do is to connect people, but also to connect organizations, even on international level. Like this example of the connection I made between World Startup and Founders Talent, right, in Bandung and the Netherlands. And they now jointly develop programs for entrepreneurs, change makers, and impact makers. But this also led to developing a cooperation on the next generation of incubators, which is goes through the PUM organization. I'm a volunteer with. I worked with Connect Incubator, a new organization set up maybe 2 years ago now. And together we helped the government of Indonesia to develop an economic development program. And this cooperation develop a national program is supported also by the Ministry of Cooperatives and SME and the Ministry of National Development Planning. And as a matter of fact, next week, they will be visiting us for their ecosystem exposure tour. It's organized with us through PUM with World Startup and Connect Incubator. And it's led by the Minister of Cooperatives and SMEs, but also people from his ministry will join, and the Ministry of National Development and from Development Bank. Altogether 15 people that will be exposed to the Dutch ecosystem, and hope to draw inspiration and lessons from that, and potentially find partners to give shape to new policies for the entrepreneur ecosystem and innovation in Indonesia. Now, to finalize my keynote, what I hope that we can work on together is an entrepreneurial Indonesia in 2045. And I want to give you some, let's say, bullet points to work on together. And these 3 bullet points are leadership, culture, and structure. And leadership, with me, leadership, I mean leadership in a broad sense. So it's not about the president of Indonesia that should do this or that, but it is about leadership in all of us, and giving also the mavericks in your society the room to develop leadership in this entrepreneurial ecosystem. If you look at successful ecosystems in the world, then many of these people can be from government, can be from business. For instance, what you see a lot is entrepreneurs that are very experienced, have sold their company, have the time, are that become leaders of and developers of entrepreneurial ecosystems in a region, for instance. So developing leadership through also mainly through activity, but inspiring others. Because as I said earlier, this is something you have to do together. And what we as a community need to do is generate proper data for leaders, so to understand what is happening in the ecosystem, to understand what is blocking people from starting a company or growing their company or introducing innovations into existing sectors. Innovation, as you know, is not an easy thing because people don't know it, or there are rules that prevent innovations to enter the market. So that type of data is really essential for giving shape to good leadership. Now, structure is every society has its own structures and systems that regulate the society, but many times these structures are rigid, have some rigidity and not very dynamic. So also structures have to evolve with the society and the developments that are taking place. And I want to mention, I don't have to mention, by the way, the impact of the digital economy on these structures and the opportunity that it releases. But I want to mention also sustainability. So sustainability is a moving target. If we have to take in, for instance, the rising sea level, now scientists predict this, and then next year scientists predict that. So it's a moving target, and we have to be adaptable in our systems and structures to not only adapt but also to preempt and develop a society that is really self-sufficient in dealing with that and resilient to deal with that. And I want the third bullet point I want to mention is culture. I already said it earlier, is that culture can be also is important because it really embodies values that are relevant for society. But it can also be sometimes ruled by, let's say, conservative ideas. In that sense, culture is also something that is not static normally, but that evolves. And you can only, or one of the things, tips I want to give is that open up the culture to be exposed to other cultures. Open up to exposure to other perspectives, which can help shine a light on new perspectives, on new things that can be incorporated in culture, that can be an evolvement in the culture. So with that, I conclude my keynote, and I hope to hear back how the other speakers, the participants in the conference, can give further shape to how Indonesia can really draw on this entrepreneurial mindset, entrepreneurial development that it needs to become a good nation, or a valuable nation by that it wishes to be in 2045. Thank you very much. And if you have questions or just want to connect, here are my contact details. And I hope to see you soon when I visit Indonesia this spring. Have a great day. Bye-bye.